This week we have a really rich array of theories to learn, including one of the most influential in the psychology discipline, that of attachment. Following on from our investigation of physical and cognitive development last week, we turn to the features of social development. As many of you will already know from your lived experiences, humans are a really social species. Our survival utterly depends on our capacity to connect to our primary carers and receive their help with the necessities of life: food, shelter, warmth and love. Human brains have evolved to take into account the essential nature of social interaction. While the ins and outs of this may be beyond a first-year introduction, it is something that many of you might find really interesting and worthy of further reading and research. What we do look at in this week's reading is attachment theory, socialisation and parenting approaches, peer relationships, the development of social cognition, and the identification with gender, moral development, and development across the lifespan. To summarise each of these areas, attachment theory looks at the emotional ties that exist between parents and their children and theorises about the impact of this relationship for many aspects of functioning, such as emotion regulation, identity, personality, and behaviour in later relationships. Many approaches to psychological treatment use attachment theory as a basis and trace psychopathology to issues in the attachment process. Parenting is another area thought to have a link to social development. There are certainly many books written on this topic. The focus in our current society on parenting reflects the importance placed on social development and the impact that being a parent can have on this. You might like to think about how views of parenting have changed across generations, for better or for worse. Peer relationships are important throughout the lifespan, but particularly during adolescence. Social cognition is another very interesting area for research. It covers how children develop the capacity to understand themselves and others. Research in this area is linked to autism research, in that social cognition is thought to be impaired in this condition. Moral development is linked to social cognition and also to theories of cognitive development such as Piaget's. Finally, we look at development as stages across an entire lifespan by examining Erikson's theory of psychosocial stages. A lot to cover this week. We hope you find it as interesting as we do. Try to get along to one of the Collaborate sessions to discuss the concepts with other students. It's a great way to feel more engaged in your study and also to hear some different perspectives. We find that students who attend Collaborate tend to do better in their assignments too, so that might provide some additional incentive. Thank you and see you next week.